All right, let's move on to outputting. You've already learned the print command. However, I want to take this to another level here and teach you some more advanced options. So go ahead and create a new Python 3 notebook. I've got mine right here. We call this chapter 3.3. You've already learned the classic print command. We've been doing this last couple of times. Whoops. Shift Enter. So next, I want to show you how to use what's called the format command. And there's lots of options with this one. So here's what we're going to do. Start with another print. And this time, let's do our hello, but my name is. And instead of writing the text or concatenating right here, we're going to use these curly braces. So those curly braces indicate that something dynamic is going to go right there. So next I want you to hit dot format, and we're going to put a value in there, and we'll call it Homer. All right, hello, my name is Homer. Now the curly braces say whatever comes next in the format statement is going to go right here. Well, that's mildly interesting, but it becomes more useful as we do a bit more with it. So let's copy this. And now what I want to do is say, hello, my name is, and we're going to put in a 0 this time. And we're going to say, and I'm married to, and then we're going to add another one and put the number 1. This time in format, we're going to add 2 values, Homer and Marge. Okay, so here's what's going on now. This 0 and 1 refers to locations in what we call an array. Now we're going to learn about arrays and lists later on in this book. For now, this is as far as I'm going to go on it. But know that we can easily switch these back and forth. Oh, by the way, arrays are what we call zero-based, meaning the first item in an array is at location 0, and the next one is at location 1. If we were to continue, we can say I'm married to and my children are. We would refer to these now as 2, 3, and 4. So even though there are 5 items in our array, we only go up to 4 because we start at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too overly complicated, but the idea is by having indexes that we can refer to, as we call these, the index of the array, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can actually adjust this around and say this one's 1 and this one's 0. And now it doesn't matter what order these are in here in the array. We can refer to indexes here inside these curly braces and return them now in a different order. Now we have Marge. Even though Marge is second on the list, we have her first now because we referenced her as number 1 here, Homer is 0. Okay, now you'll see more as we go on this semester where this type of thing can be useful. For now, we're just learning the principle behind this. So format lets us take dynamic values and plug them into text. So here we inserted them, though, as string literals. We typed out these names. However, we could just as easily refer to these things as variables. So here before my print, I'm going to call this name, or I'll make it simple, n1 equals Homer, n2 equals Marge. Yeah, let's go for it. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to start with just those ones. Homer, Marge, and here I'm going to refer to n1, n2. Now, to be clear, just because I've called them n1 and n2, that hasn't changed the index. The index here for n1 is still 0. The index here for n2 is still 2. All right, so notice, hello, my name is Marge, I'm married to Homer. Even though Marge is n2, she's showing up first because she's in the 1 position, and Homer's showing up second because he's in the 0 position. Okay, let's keep going on now. Next, I want to show you how to, this is how we work with strings here, but I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and let's work with using format to make numbers appear the way we want them to. So here's what I want to do next. Let's print out some text, and let's say this class is, and we're going to do something a little bit different now. Instead of just an index, we're going to add both a number but then colon, and I'm going to add to that the lowercase letter f. I'll show you what that means in just a second. I'm going to put percent after that, and say awesome index 1. And now I'm going to, let's give an exclamation point for emphasis. Now we're going to use the dot format command to insert values for 0 and 1. So for those values, we're going to first put in a number instead of text this time, but it's a literal number. And then let's put in a literal text stuff, and that'll work. So let's show what this prints, and let's talk about it. All right, so this class is, we get 100% awesome stuff, exclamation point. So this percent right here is showing up right here. The 0 here refers to the first index in our array here of the format. Then the F is a formatting code. F means format it as base 10 percent, or base 10 meaning add 6 decimals after it. Now, because I don't have 6 decimals in this, it just adds zeros after it. So it's not converting 100 to a percent. Otherwise, it would be 1,000 or 10,000%. All it does, it says let's format it to include 6 decimals. So if we were to have a bunch of decimals after, whoops, didn't mean to do that, decimal first, and then a bunch of stuff, it's going to round that back to 6 decimal places. And then the idea here is I just wanted you to see that you can include both data types of numbers and text in the same format command. All right, let's do something else. Let's add another print this time. And let's say I expect my average of this, let's put in a term there with a 0, will be, let's put in another 1, and then we're going to do some formatting. So for now, let's just go ahead and add the dot format, and let's put in our values. My average of this, let's just put in the word class, or no, semester. Sorry, semester. And then let's add a number here, 95.215.431. Okay, let's run that. Invalid syntax. That is from, oh, for some stupid reason I put curly braces right here. That's okay, it's a good lesson to learn. I'm going to leave this in the video. So notice that when you're running a function, when you accept function inputs, or when you're passing something into the function, that goes in parentheses, not curly braces. So oops, so I'm going to delete that curly brace out of parentheses, delete that one out of parentheses. There we go. Oh gosh, come on, didn't mean to add that one. There we go. All right, expect my average this semester will be this, but I want to format that to only 2 decimal places. So here's what I'm going to do. The default, as you learned, of F is going to be 6 decimal places. So if I add colon F, it's going to keep it just like it is because I already had 6 decimal places. To round it to 2, put a 2 in front of the F. And that failed. What did I miss? Oh, I missed. I got to add a dot in front of the 2. That's what it is. There we go. All right. Okay, now this is important. Notice that it rounded up. So what was 0.215 is now 0.22. Let's put a percent in there. We don't want to forget that. All right, there we go. So this is important because it's different from if we had simply casted. So let me show you what I mean here. Let's create this time a variable called percent. I'm going to set this equal to 93.884876. That'll work. Now let's print out, and let's say my actual average this, once again we'll use our 0 for text this semester, was, and we'll put 1, and let's do a point. Let's round it all the way to 0 decimal places. Here, F, %sign. All right, perfect. Now let's do the dot format. Let's add in there semester for the first one. And this time we're going to pass in our variable %. Okay, when we run this, my actual average of semester was 94%. It rounds up. Now what if, just for a moment, we hadn't used this method and we had simply tried to cast % to an integer, which would lose those, that would get rid of those decimal places, right? Because a float has decimals, integers don't. So let me show you what would happen there. I'm going to keep this. One way to keep code without having to lose it is to comment it out like that. And what I'll do is I'll copy it and paste it down here. And on this one, I will eliminate the formatting. And instead, I'm going to cast % as an int. All right, this time it says my average this semester was 93%. Why is that? Because casting doesn't actually round. All it does is it says, okay, you want this to be an integer now instead of a float? Just eliminate everything after the decimal place. So casting from an int to a float in almost every programming language, at least all those that I've messed with, it's not going to round up or down properly. It's simply going to eliminate the decimal places. So that's why it's important. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here so you can see how this works. Let's move this one up here so you can remember that that's done improperly. This one's done properly. Whoops, what did I miss here? I think I must have lost a curly brace. This happened, a parenthesis. So you notice how sometimes it adds the second parenthesis for you, and then you go to type it, and it types over the same one. Let's just count them up. I've got 1 open, 2 open, 3 open, but then only 2 close. I just need one more right here. There we go. Okay. So proper way, or the improper way, sorry, is to cast from a float to a %. Proper way is to use the format operator and let it know how many decimals we want right here. This period means use a decimal. F means add the decimals, add 0 of them, and then round. All right. Next, I want to shift gears again and show you how to use the .format command to properly space. Now, first I'll use like a kind of a silly example, but then I'll give you a better example on how it's going to be useful in data analytics. So follow on first here with me. Let's print out, and let's start right away here with a reference 0 location, and this time just the number 4. 4 is going to indicate the number of spaces to pad or add to the text that goes into that spot beginning from the left. I'll show you what I mean here. So let's add a space, or no, a comma is the most popular language for. Let's add another one, reference the second item in the list, and then let's add an 18 here for 18 spaces. And maybe an exclamation point. Let's go to our .format command. Now let's add the items that are going to go in there. Let's put in Python and another one, another string literal, data science. All right, let me show you what this does. So Python puts that in there as the most popular language for data science, and then a whole bunch of spaces before some exclamation point. So let me explain what's happening here. Because we put the number 4, this says add 4 spaces after the beginning of Python. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that refers to the characters. Now, because the word Python is longer than 4 characters, it still pushes the next following text, which is the comma, past the end of those characters. So whether I put 4 here, 1, or even 6, because there's 6 characters in Python, it's all going to look the same. But the second I change it to more than 6 and make it 7, now it puts the space out 1 more character. So it doesn't matter if I leave this anywhere between 1 and 6, the Python's going to look the same. However, over here, data science is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the space, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters long. And then it's going to add another 6 beyond that because we put in 18 spaces. Now, how did it know to put it into the right of data science? Well, it's because text is always left aligned and numbers are always right aligned. So because data science was text or a string, it said, okay, well, in this space of 18 characters, align data science to the left. All right, let's add a little bit more onto this. So let's now print out some, let's do some numbers next. Print. And let's say it is, whoops, hold on. It is, and let's put our reference right here, and let's say 5 spaces, degrees, outside. Let's use our dot format. I don't know what today's going to be, maybe 80. Okay. All right, so now we used 5 characters. 80, remember when I use numbers, I don't have quotes around it. 80 is only 2 characters long, but it added 1, 2, 3. So this space between the S and the edge of that blue is the one that's already in there. There's 3 spaces here to the left of 80. And 80 is on the right-hand side of these 5 spaces occupied by that number 5 right there, because numbers are always formatted to the right. Okay, next one. Let's do another example. Let's print this time. Let's go 0, colon, let's do like 26. Was founded in, let's add another one for 1. This one will make, I don't know, something like 16. All right, dot format. Let's add in there, let's call this the United States. If you're not in the US, put whatever country you're in and see if you know off the top of your head the year it was founded. And put that in instead. All right, 1776. All right, so let's see what we get here. The United States with a bunch of spaces. Why? Hopefully you remember now. Text is aligned to the left. So with 26 spaces, it put the extra over here on the right. Was founded in 16 spaces, because 1776 is a number, it put over there on the right. Now, if I were to put quotes around this, all of a sudden it becomes text, and it switches 1776 over to the right, to the left-hand side. All right. So now that's just seeing both text and numbers in the same example. Let's now learn how to align something differently from how it is by default. That will come in handy later on. Let's copy our same. Actually, I'm just going to grab all this again. Make life easy on us. What if I change my mind and I want the US to be center aligned and the numbers to be left aligned, we'll say. So I can use greater than, less than, and the exponent. Well, I don't know the actual name of that key. Let me show what I mean. So here on the 26, we're going to make the United States center aligned by using that character, that raised to, or I know, caret, is that the name of it? There's something like that. Then over here in front of the 16, I can use the less than or the greater than sign to tell it which direction I want it to be aligned. So let's do less than, or I'm pointing to the left. That's going to make it left aligned now. So now you see the United States is centered within that 26 character space in this line right here by using that caret. Down here, 1776, I pointed to the left. It's now left aligned. Similarly, if I had text and I want to right align it, I could use that. Okay. Let's do one more example. One more thing you can do that's sometimes useful. Let's print out. Go ahead and put in your curly braces. I'm going to ignore the number. If I leave out the number, the 0 or the 1, that means just insert the data in the order that it shows up in. You'll see what I mean here. So let's use this. Let's use the star key first. Let's center align using the caret. The star key is going to let us add leading and trailing characters before and after the text that we put in. You'll see what I mean. So center align it, occupy 20 spaces total, and then use the S command. S is what says to actually add this character right here as leading and trailing characters before and after. So let's go out here and say dot format, and let's insert the variable or text. We'll just use the name US again in there. Okay, so this says which character to use. This says center align the text US that you put in here. This says how many total characters spaces to occupy, and the S says that we're going to repeat that character before and after. So notice I could, rather than say center line, I could go left, and it puts the US over on the left hand side, right hand side. I'll leave it as centered. Sometimes instead of the star key, I actually prefer that dash on either side. So we've learned a few ways to format and add spacing and padding. Why would we want to know this? Now let's give you a more real-life example of what exactly we want to do. So this is the more common task. We've imported data, and we want to make it look better. So let's just add a few things. Let's say we've imported some variables: ID, age, sex, and income. Print those out. Okay, and it prints them with one space in between each. Makes sense. Now let's print out some values as if we're creating or inputting records. First one is ID 1, age 28. We'll say this is a male, and his income is $76,000. Let's print out one more record. This one is ID 2. This one's a 45-year-old female, and she's making $200,000. She's older, has more experience. And here's what it looks like. So because they're printed in the order they show up, the comma implies add a space in between each, but notice it doesn't align very well. ID, age, sex, income. I want to make it align, so here's what I do. Let's copy these. Now we're going to print first, right here, some text, and then we're going to use a dot format for all of this part. Whoops, get rid of that one. So in here, I'm going to need a bunch of my curly braces. So I'm just going to go curly brace, space, curly brace, whoops, one for each. This is just like I was doing above. I could put in 0, 1, 2 to refer to the order. However, I could also just leave it out, and it's going to imply put them in the order they show up over here. So what I want to do instead is tell it to add, to use 6 spaces total for each one of these. Here I've got 6 digits on that one, so that should be enough to add an equal amount of space around. I guess I could have some people with 7 figures in their income. I'm going to assume that I don't. This is, let's say I've removed outliers from my data, so I don't have those. But this right here is going to say put, whoops, what did I miss here? Oh, I need one more. I always do that. One more curly brace. There. Nope. Oh, if I put 6, that means use the 6th one in the array. That's not what I mean. What I want here is to have a colon to say use them in the order they show up in, and then use 6 spaces around them. Okay, so here I've got 6 spaces occupied by age before my space that comes as a result of the comma here. Another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The income already has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in it because there's 6 letters. All right, so let's copy this down to our next line here. I think a good way to do this, let's copy from there to there and put this in front of each, and then let's remember to add our closing braces. There we go. So we've got some space now, but let's do some alignment. Notice because ID is text, it automatically aligns it left, and because the values are numbers, it aligns it right. Income, because it's easier to read this, partly why we align numbers to the right is because it allows us to see orders of magnitude difference. So because 200,000 is an order of 10 magnitude higher than 76, it's easier to right align it and see this over there. So I'm going to leave income right aligned, but I want to center ID, age, and sex, and because the values here have the same number of characters or digits in them, I'm going to center align those as well. Well, or no, let's do this so we get experience. Let's left align ID and the numbers, and let's center align age and sex. So see if you can think, based on what we did up here, how would I do that down here? It's best if you can pause the video and see if you can do it on your own, but if you can't, no problem. Come down here, and what we're going to do is say, all right, ID, we want left aligned. So in each of these, I'm going to add a left for all 3 rows. Run that. So you can see, all right, now ID is left aligned, both the text and the numbers. Age we want centered, so I'm going to use caret, caret, caret. Let's run that. There we go, centered, and then sex will do the same. Caret, caret, caret. All right, perfect. I've already changed my mind. I think this would look better if it was center aligned now too. There we go. All right. So data is all nicely aligned now. What I want you to do next is take what you've learned and apply it now to come and do these practice problems on the next page. So these practices are based on the same 3 contexts that we had in the prior chapter, but the difference is now you're going to be required to accept as inputs each of the values that before we hard-coded into the code. Now you're going to use the input boxes to collect those and make the programs more dynamic. So good luck.